John. Beautiful playing.
Yeah, you too. You too. Yeah.
Thanks. We were just talking about all the different lines, and you had so many great and interesting ideas on that. That was so cool. I was just like, we gotta play this on the YouTube video too.
Yeah.
So beautiful tune. It's a wealth of ideas, and one thing I think a lot of viewers, and let me know if I'm correct about this. One viewers really appreciate is chords and chord voicings and expanding, all those different things and the fun you can have with just like learning.
Well, yeah,
all that.
It's the vocabulary. So
Yeah.
it's and this tune is Stairway to the Stars. I don't know if we said that.
Stars. I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. So, but God, what a pretty song.
Wonderful song. And the reason picked this tune today was that John Scofield is out with a new album, and this is one of the tunes on the album. The album is called Uncle John's Cabin.
Uncle John's Band.
Uncle John's Band.
Which is a Grateful Dead tune.
A Grateful Dead tune. And so I was just watching a video of that this morning, his kind of promo video talking about the backstory behind and everything. He was saying how much he loves that tune, and but it's mixed with so many different pieces. I think standards. It's got Tambourine Man.
Yeah.
So I just started listening to it. I've only listened to about 3 tracks or 4 tracks on it, but we listened to this earlier, his version on this, and it was just incredible. So.
Yeah, his note choice and timing. I mean, that's Scofield's thing.
Yeah.
His tone is just beautiful always.
Yeah.
But yeah, his note choice and his timing, and I've noticed amongst really, really amazing guitarists, they can wait a long time between notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill Frisell is great at that.
He is a great example of that. I mean, the level of patience and I mean, he can kind of float and just I think sometimes he uses the delay to kind of aid with all of that.
Yeah,
but
just lets it carry on. And, Dominic Miller, your guitar player, is he English or French? Anyway, he's a tremendous player. Plays with Sting. He's been Sting's guitar player for years, but his solo stuff is beautiful. That same thing. He can, and oddly, from the Rolling Stones, I've completely lost his name. Guitarist for the Rolling Stones.
Oh, Keith Richards?
Keith Richards. If you watch him play, he'll go for a downstroke, and you think he's never going to make it. It is never getting there in time because he waits so long.
Yeah.
But it works. But sometimes you're like, he's kind of loaded up here. He's waiting, and But that is a thing I keep noticing. It's the very best.
Yeah.
They can sort of hit a note, have a sip of coffee, hit a note, and it's just
Yeah, so much weight to it, and I mean, like it's present. It's there and substantial, and it's tempting to want to like kind of fill up space,
especially on a ballad.
Yeah. So before we go on with too many things, before we mention, please leave a comment and let us know what you're working on, and that'll help us to determine what we might want to talk about and all that. Tell us your struggles and your successes, and whether you're out there playing gigs, and let us know what your experiences are.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And if there's something, you got a question, need something answered, curious about something, wondering how you get from one step to the next. Please write us, ask, hit the bell down there. I'm getting better at pointing here. Subscribe, like, hit the bell, all the stuff. You know how this works.
Yeah.
And we want to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see. We've got John Scofield's Uncle John's Band's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we've got an artist that you mentioned. We did a little listening to her.
Hiromi.
Hiromi, yeah.
Yeah, she just goes by Hiromi, Japanese piano player, keyboardist. She is spectacular.
Yeah.
I have loved everything I've heard of hers because it's fun.
Yeah.
If you watch the live videos, she just gets this big grin on her face. She cannot stop smiling.
Nice.
If I could play like that, I wouldn't stop smiling. It is.
Yeah.
And her usual trio is has Anthony Jackson playing bass, which makes everything fine.
Yeah.
So cool. But this new album, she has Hadrian Farad playing bass, who I'm also a huge fan of.
Okay.
Because he's very, very melodic, and she takes advantage of that.
Yeah.
Through this, because there are times where he's just kind of playing a bass part, and there's times where they're doubling melodies and doing harmonies, and he's playing the melody, and
yeah,
it is just the album's called Sonic Wonderland. Pull it up on your streaming service, buy the CD. You could probably get vinyl. Buy vinyl. Vinyl is cool.
Yeah. And you get the big picture.
Yeah. You
Actually,
can.
Some of the artwork I was noticing is really cool.
Yeah. The artwork on it is pretty amazing. I love vinyl because you can read the liner notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But definitely check this album out. It is really, really something else.
Yeah. Very cool. So on this tune, not that we're going to get super in depth with it, but we were mentioning before, what are some things that folks might want to do on bass or guitar to just kind of get this together. Let's say if I know some folks are going to be maybe advanced but kind of aiming at maybe the beginner and intermediate. We talked about kind of know your chord voicings, develop a library of chords, and then bass playing. Yeah,
same thing. We might not play the same chord shape, although I'm perfectly happy to.
Yeah, that's cool.
I love that. But as bass players, we have to know what's in the chord. And how are we going to move with it, through it, or over it?
Yeah.
How are we getting there? And what I had suggested in another video was, beginners, you're going to kind of play root and fifth, probably may throw in a third if you're feeling confident.
Yeah.
As you become more advanced, you're going to start understanding chord structure. And what I said previously is I used to take a tune like this and I would write out the notes for each chord.
Okay.
Above. When I was like elementary and middle school. That's how I figured out this stuff, because then you start to see, and what I said before was, so you've got a root note, you've got the structure, you've got the notes in the chord, and then you got the melody. So all of a sudden you can see three things you can play with.
Yeah.
And for a bass player, it's like, cool, am I supporting the melody here? Am I supporting a soloist here? Am I taking a bit of the melody myself?
Yeah.
But it lets you see that, and then you sort of pick. I always remember what Pat Metheny said. He just has this stream of music flying over his head.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned
that. And he can just reach up and grab it.
Nice.
That's kind of this on paper. You get these three streams of music.
Yeah.
And you can play with it.
Yeah.
This is where it gets fun.
Yeah. Exactly. So some things that we were talking about too that I'd like to share, aside from the tune and everything, is gear, drum machines, and apps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As a non-drummer or aspiring drummer, however I want to look at it in a given day, I use some VSTs and program in drums and stuff, and I have a whole process on that. But you had mentioned too that you've got some things that you use.
I do. I've started playing with stuff that's in Logic on iPad, which is way cool, but I just have not dedicated the time to it because I'm playing this thing all the time.
Yeah.
But I do love, there's an iOS app called Drum Jam. Really good. It's all sampled instruments. And it's a lot of world percussion, which I look for.
Yeah, that's cool.
Then there was another developer has an app called Soft Drum.
Okay.
So it's basically kind of more brushes and stick bundle kind of things.
Nice.
that one's incredibly good.
Okay.
You know, where you can just tell it, okay, I want a bossa nova at this speed, these kind of brushes.
Yeah.
And maybe in 5.
Yeah.
And you
very cool.
get this incredibly realistic sounding thing.
Yeah.
It won't fool everybody. That's not the idea. But it will give you something to work with.
Something to work with. Yeah. I mean, obviously the best thing is just to have a drummer, you know, on hand with you. But whether for practicing or creating backing tracks and stuff like that, it's handy to use a drum machine.
Oh yeah.
And you know, if you're doing something that's really technical and you know like something that's in a odd meter, you're going to have a reliable source, whereas humans are somewhat less reliable.
Slightly less reliable, and they want to eat and things like that. And so no, it is for sketching out tunes.
Yeah, it's great.
A lot of most of the time when somebody sends me a recording to you know do tracks for, there is a drum machine track. Yeah. There's at least a click, but often there's a drum machine track because that will inform the style.
Yeah.
Because they can say bossa nova. Really, what kind of bossa nova are we talking about here? So if they give me something that's roughly what they have in mind, then we're good.
Yeah, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty cool things that you can do to loosen up some of the MIDI things. We've talked a little bit about that. Max for Live, there are some folks who are writing humanizer sort of things that you can throw in to kind of loosen it up a little bit.
Pretty amazing.
Very amazing.
And then that soft drum, the guy who writes that has a bunch of different drum apps. He basically, you can adjust what he calls swing. Yeah. So it's kind of where it is. But then there's sort of, he calls it the jam feel, where it really does loosen things up. And it's so natural sounding. It's kind of disturbing.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I think we're at a time where sometimes you want humans and you know sort of the machines if you need, you know, like I find that I need that for the things that I'm trying to do, is you know program the drums in, but you want it to have that human feel, or you want it, you know.
Yeah, it has to, or it just comes off sounding awful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it really does. That's exactly it.
It becomes rigid and it sounds very controlled. And I always joke and say stuff like that borders on Russian circus music. You know, because it's, no offense, Russians or circuses, but you hear that.
Yeah.
And nothing moves.
Yeah.
You know, instead we're on here.
Yeah. A little to the eighth note, or a little, you know.
Little groove to it. Instead of just that straight click that we all heard, you know, from the Korg drum machines in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, where you picked a style and a speed and hang on. It's, so, really useful, but in the end, I'd rather have a drummer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll mention that I went into the music go-around last week, and they had some old school drum machines. I don't know if you've seen those.
I saw those. They have like an old Korg in there, and I think an old Roland.
Yeah.
And just as an aside, you need to find an old Saturday Night Live with Bill Murray doing his lounge singer act.
Okay.
And he's on I think they're in a ski lodge, and Paul Schaefer is playing piano because he was the piano player for the show. And they give the drum machine a solo. And it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen on TV. He's like, the Korg 3000, and they turn the speed way up and then back it down, and everybody applauds.
That's hilarious. I need to find that.
I'd love that. But give me a good drummer anytime. And, you know, for bass players, drummers are your best friend.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
Really. You know, bring them snacks, talk nicely to them. Yeah. They make your life easy.
Yeah, I think exchanging tracks and stuff is something that I aspire to do down the road, which is, you know, just you know, talk to somebody and say, hey, can you record this, you know, for whatever amount of agreed money, and you know. Stuff like that. So
I love doing that work.
Yeah,
that's, you know, I don't have to put on pants or anything.
Yeah,
so it's just really nice. But there's an album that a drummer buddy of mine, Nick, and I have been working with a singer She's in Pittsburgh. Nick is near D.C. I'm near Baltimore.
Yeah.
She just sends it out. We do a couple of runs, send it back.
Yeah.
The album comes out next month.
Nice. What's the name of that?
It's called Extates.
Okay.
That's Laura Chu Wines.
Okay.
And I'll be spamming people.
Yeah.
With
awesome.
it when it becomes available.
Let me know because I want to hear that.
Yeah, she's a interesting songwriter.
Okay.
Very narrative songwriter.
Yeah.
It's not just boy meets girl, boy loses girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
But very, very interesting songs. Unique vocal style.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Nice. Sounds awesome. So you gig with that group, right? We were talking a little bit about what's in the bag, right?
Yeah.
So this is a good, especially for younger folks who are going out and playing. So let's talk a little bit about what to take to a gig. You know, what to put in the bag.
Yeah. What do you like? What do you think is required?
So one thing that I really try to do is work on redundancy. So I may have some backup equipment for just in case, but usually it's not that necessary. But sometimes I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm a little bit worried about forgetting stuff. So when I go and I play, I'm just like running through the bag, you know, in my mind, like what did I forget, or you know. But I need a certain length of power cable, so I try to have something that's at least 15 feet.
Yeah.
And maybe an on-off switch. But usually there are other folks that come with kind of the same stuff like that. But you don't want to try to rely on other people or ask other people for stuff. So
yeah, because that'll be the day they forgot theirs.
Yeah.
That's how the universe works. It's just
and that's another thing is that if you have something extra, sometimes you can help another person out if something's missing. But I need an amp. I need the guitar, extra set of strings always. And sometimes I just do a backup guitar so they don't have to change a string on the spot.
Yeah.
Just pull another guitar. But I almost never break a string. So there's that. But you know, just the tuner. You got to have a tuner that tunes without needing in the room sound. So
tune silently.
Yeah, to be able to tune silently. I think that's important for others, and then also for yourself. If people are warming up horns or something, it's going to be hard to tune on a traditional tuner.
Yeah, and it's just more professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear you going ding ding. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
You know, and especially if things are running tight on the schedule, like they almost always are.
Yeah.
Things change. It's like, oh, I've got 10 seconds to tune. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I use Peterson Strobo Stomp.
Okay. Yeah.
Like my standard board that goes with me everywhere. It's a little board. It's a volume pedal, a radial bass bone, preamp and DI, and a Peterson tuner. And they are wired together.
Yeah.
So I can pull it out, plug it in. I'm good.
Good. Yeah. I generally use a clip-on tuner. Works pretty well. It's actually Peterson as well.
We've discussed that before. There's all the tuners in the world, and then there's Peterson.
Yeah. So I definitely, prefer that one. I never feel like I have an issue with that. Picks. So I almost always use a pick. Maybe not every tune,
right?
But I may need like a backup pick, and in case I think I've dropped a pick once.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very rare, but it did happen once, and
right.
I was kicking myself about it. But just to have something, next pick, be able to switch quickly to finger picking or whatever. Get things going, and if you have a moment of space, just grab something.
And if you and I tend to play mostly jazz, if you're a rock and roll player and you're on stage and you're getting sweaty, you're gonna drop a pick.
Yeah.
It's going to squirt out of your fingers.
Yeah.
And for the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just that's why you see guys will like tape, double-sided tape and stick a bunch of picks down the side.
Yeah.
It's very 70s rock and roll, but there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And it's right there and you can just grab it and go.
Just grab it. Yeah. Yeah. So what are some, anything else that you're going to think of?
Well, I always have a 25-foot extension cord and at least 8-outlet power strip, like a good APC.
Yeah.
I think you have Furman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, stuff that's got protection and because you never know. I actually carry a little electrical tester. You plug in, it's got 3 lights. And you plug it into the socket and it will tell you if it's wired correctly and if you've actually got a ground.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you're playing through an amplifier, you should own one of these. They're like $8 at your big box store, hardware store. Because I have gone in and plugged into places and seen no ground and it's wired backwards. And I will find whoever's in charge and go, no, I'm not sacrificing my gear to your shoddy electric.
Yeah.
And it's a safety thing.
Yeah.
If there's no ground, you got problems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you find that like in old buildings and stuff, but the well-maintained places, it'll work. But definitely get one of these little yellow things. It's got 3 lights.
Yeah.
It can actually save your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I always, because of the strings I play, these Labella tape wounds, it's funny, they don't really go dead. They go a little floppy.
Okay.
They just kind of get a little loose, and you got to keep tightening them up.
Yeah.
And that's when I change them. But I always keep the previous set.
Yeah.
I put it in a Ziploc bag with those little desiccant packs.
Yeah.
And that goes with me.
Yeah.
Mostly because they're $60 a set.
I was just gonna mention that. Yeah. Because bass strings are a lot more expensive than your typical guitar set.
Yeah. So I always just keep the previous set. So in case should something happen, it's never happened, but in case it does, I'm set. And if I'm going more than half an hour away from the house, I've got a couple of tools, wrench, hex wrenches that fit your guitar, fit your truss rod, fit your bridges, all your bridge screws. Like this one has 2 different sizes, but this size fits. This at the end down here fits this one up here for the truss rod. Learn how to adjust your truss rods, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't know how, go find your local tech. Say, look, I'll give you $50 if you show me how to do this. And they'll show you.
Yeah.
They might just show you for free, but money never hurts.
Yeah.
Because you can be playing a gig and be in a weird climate situation. And I've had things where I've gotten on a gig and all of a sudden I'm noticing my neck just started to move a little bit. And actually that gig was like a greenhouse. Oh. And the humidity was so high
it's gonna move,
that the neck started to straighten too much because it was swelling. And I was like, I've never, places that are really cold, you'll see this sort of thing. So have the wrenches that fit, learn how to do this. It's nothing scary.
Yeah.
Small movements.
Definitely don't overdo it. But.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people 1/8 of a turn.
Yeah.
And just do it in 8s. And you're good. I've done a couple thousand of them.
Yeah.
And I still rarely go more than 1/4 of a turn unless it's something pretty drastic. The electrical stuff, the wrenches, guitar players, bass players, if you play with a pick and you're playing rock and roll, you're going to get sweaty. Have a bag of them.
Yeah.
Buy them in bulk.
Yeah.
Maybe a change of clothes.
Yep.
It's like I've got a gig on Wednesday that's 2 hours away. I will not be wearing my suit to drive there.
Right.
I'll wear, nice pants and a T-shirt.
Yeah.
To get there, load in, get everything set up, then go change. And then probably change shirts after, put the shirt I drove up. It's things like that. Have a towel. Douglas Adams was right. You should always have your towel.
Yeah.
So I always have 2.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my towels does have 42 on it.
Okay.
So find the book. What else? Yeah, that's kind of it. There was a long time in the 80s where I was bringing spare sets of strings for guitar players.
Okay.
because.
Yeah.
But I usually have string changing tools, like a wrench with side cutters, so I can change strings real quick. Be able to fix yourself in place. Do not rely on the local music store having what you need or even being open.
Yeah, if you use pedals, have extra batteries.
Yeah, maybe a spare power supply, not a big fancy brick, but like a single 9-volt.
Yeah.
So if you had to, you could come down to one pedal.
Yeah, and you have to realize too that and there are all sorts of different gigs, but you have an organizer who may be completely overwhelmed by everything, and you don't want to become a problem for that person because they're worried about music, they're worried about lighting, they're worried about the catering. And so you don't want to become their problem, because then that's going to reflect badly on the band and whoever got the band connected with that event.
My on anything like that, my goal is to be the most helpful person possible. I just want to go up to if I'm the leader of the band, I want to go up to whoever the organizer is and say, all right, is there anything special you need? Okay, we got it. What time you want us to start?
Yeah.
And leave them alone.
Yeah, I'll just, where do you want us? Where's the closest outlet to that place? And anything helpful,
then they will love you and they will call you again. Yeah. This is sort of the point.
And there's oftentimes less space than you want.
Always.
Yeah. So so you might be prepared to, have a strap, be prepared to stand if you need to, or be prepared to sit if you need a footrest, and bring a footrest. Stuff like that. You should be able to walk into the room and set up what you have with you and perform without any outside help. Yeah, absolutely.
I always get, my rules. I get to a gig at least an hour in advance. If it's a more complex thing, it might be 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because I don't like being surprised.
Yeah, and you're driving. Anything could happen. So you really got to be prepared, because you're going to be stressed.
Yeah.
If there's a traffic jam, and a lot of times it's just unfamiliar place. I mean, maybe you're going to get lost, and maybe there's construction you didn't know about.
Yeah, give yourself enough time so that when you get there, you're still early. And early is not 5 minutes before downbeat. Early is an hour before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of leaders that will fire you if you don't show up at least an hour in advance.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a drummer thing, but it seems like the drummers are always the last one, but the ones that you need there first.
Yeah. But it's funny that I do work with some drummers. And it's always a joke to see which one of us can get there first, because I like being the first person there. Because it lets me lay out power.
Yeah.
For the whole band, even if it's not my gig. Because I've got the big extension cord and the big power strip, and they'll say, "Oh, there's power nearby." It's in the next building. I have had that happen, where it's literally 100 feet away.
Yeah.
And I was like, not on the property, somewhere in the it's a mess. Be early. Be a Boy Scout. Be prepared. And be helpful to the organizer, because they will love you. They will hire you back.
Yeah.
You will make even more money because you get to raise your rate, because they'll look at the client and go, well, look, we got these guys that are fantastic and they're reliable and they do a great show.
Yeah.
And it's just because you were nice to them.
Yeah. And then, maybe also just thinking about this, unload, park your car, don't park where the guests would be parking, or, just little considerate things like that, put your four-way flashers on, maybe unload, go take care of your car. Don't park in the most convenient spot necessarily, unless it's maybe parallel parking. That might be the exception.
Yeah, a lot of times they will have places they want you to park.
Yeah.
If it's any kind of event, there'll be a place where they want you to load in and a place where they want you to park.
Yeah.
So the trick is, park, go in, find the organizer, say, right, where do we load in?
Yeah.
Is there band parking?
Yeah, and read the email. Don't be that person who's has all the plans laid out by someone who sent you the email, and then you're going to the event and you're stressed and like don't know what you're doing. You're asking everybody.
Yeah.
But you actually technically already should know.
Yeah, good organizer, good booker will send you that email.
Yeah.
Usually the night before with all the final details.
Yeah.
Read it, memorize it, know it.
Yeah. I print it usually, just to kind of go over it again. So.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know November I'm heading to Pittsburgh for a week. I'm packing everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's also a gig where I'm playing 3 different basses. So it's the big rig, 3 basses, all the stuff.
Nice. Cool.
So yeah, you gotta, if you're playing down at your local pool, swimming pool for the summer party, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And driving 4.5 hours to Pittsburgh, that's something else.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. I know guys who have short distance and long distance gig bags.
Very cool.
Yeah, and the long distance one has all the tools.
Yeah, you really need to. Great. All right, well, we'll mention John's cables and repairs.
Yeah.
Can send that to him via email.
Absolutely. And my company is called Instrument Audio, and that's what I do. It's audio for musical instruments. So all the switching, wiring, custom cables, even studio stuff.
Yeah.
There is some electronics design I'm working on, which is coming along nicely. And I'm not going to give it away, but it's way cool.
Awesome.
So that's probably after the first of the year.
Awesome.
I'll have a piece of gear.
Well, you'll keep us updated on
Oh,
that.
yeah. Yeah, we'll show it off here first.
Nice. Awesome.
So, yeah, I mean, if you just have questions about, well, how does this switching wiring stuff work? Hit us up on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll happily, talk you down and get it working for you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much, John. And
Thank you, Jim.
Have a great practice session, everybody. And we'll see you all in the next one.
See you next time.